I'm going to tell you a story today. It's not confirmed as true, but it's a horror story that supposedly happened a long time ago in Saigon. This tale starts in Saigon around the year 1990. Now, that was when I was still a kid. But I can still grasp what Saigon was like back then. When I was growing up, honestly, Saigon hadn't changed all that much. It wasn't until later, when I became an adult and started working, that the city really transformed. Back when I was in school, Saigon was deserted, quiet. These days, many people from different provinces move here to start a new life. This story is about a Vietnamese po shop. This particular po shop was located inside an alley. You see, in Vietnam, pho must be cooked using bones, marrow bones and cartilage, because that's where the sweetness for the broth comes from. To make a truly delicious pot of pho, you have to simmer the bones over charcoal for 6 to 9 hours on low heat. Cooks could make a large pot of soup like that and use the broth for an entire week. It's important to remember that back in 1990, pho was still considered a luxury food for the lower classes. The owner of the shop, whose name I'll change to Alex, had a problem. His customers were often wealthy, and connoisseurs don't usually eat dishes containing too many unnecessary extras. They prefer choice cuts like beef shank, tendon, and cartilage. But the broth still had to be simmered using the cow bones. Alex couldn't figure out what to do with the leftover bones. It felt like a terrible waste to throw them away because they were still perfectly good food, but nobody wanted to buy them. Alex met a struggling man named Ben in a nearby poor neighborhood. Ben was the kind of guy who collected scrap cans and materials from restaurants to sell and help make a living. Alex introduced Ben to the PCO shop and arranged for Ben to take the pile of leftover beef bones every Thursday. This pile was huge, enough meat to feed many people, and Ben's family could eat off of it for a whole week. Ben was overjoyed. This was a massive gift for a poor man like him, especially in 1990 when many people were starving and beef was considered the most valuable meat. This arrangement went on for many months. Every Thursday, Ben would come and take the bag of bones home. His family of 3 would pick the remaining meat off the bones and plan out their meals. They say happiness doesn't last long, though. One day, Ben went to pick up the bones as usual, but the owner told him there was no bag of beef bones today. Alex said the bones had been given to another acquaintance. Ben was disappointed, but he accepted it. After all, he had been receiving them for months, and if someone else needed them now, Alex giving them away was fair. Ben started walking home. About 20 minutes later, Alex sent a worker cycling over to meet Ben. The worker handed Ben a bag of beef bones, saying they had managed to scrape that much from the bottom of the pot, and they wanted him to have it. Ben was ecstatic. As always, the families sat down, picked the meat stuck to the bones, put it in a bowl, and stored it in the refrigerator. Then they threw the leftover bones into the trash pile outside their house. Late that night, Ben closed up the house to go to sleep. As soon as all 3 members of the family lay down, they heard crying. All 3 heard the sound, and it seemed to be coming from the roof of their house. They opened their eyes and looked up at the ceiling. They were scared out of their wits. They saw a very beautiful woman, but she was only half a person, dangling and swaying from the ceiling. Ben knew immediately it was a ghost. No human hangs from the ceiling half-bodied. Instinctively, the 3 family members tightly embraced each other out of fear. They managed to stammer out that they hadn't desecrated any graves and asked why she was haunting them. Then, the small voice cried out, "Uncle, please return my meat to me." "What are you eating my meat for? Give my meat back." The family panicked, and their minds immediately jumped to the bag of beef bones Alex had given them. They told the ghost that the meat was in the fridge. The ghost replied that the meat in the fridge was only from her upper half. "The meat from my lower half is being eaten by someone right now. Please go get it back for me," she said. The Ben family was terrified. They explained they were poor, didn't know anything, and only ate what people gave them, pleading with the spirit not to scare them. Soon after, the woman vanished back into the ceiling. All three of them burst through the wooden door and ran screaming through the poor neighborhood. The local residents asked what happened, and Ben honestly recounted the entire event. People immediately began to speculate. They wondered if the PHO seller had murdered the woman, cooked her human bones, and was selling the meat. The circumstances were highly suspicious. First, Alex said there were no bones, but then he sent a worker to deliver a bag later. The second odd thing was that the meat they picked off the bones that day tasted unusually good, softer, richer, and more flavorful than usual. The poor community started spreading rumors, and they became convinced that the PHO seller was a murderer. They gathered the bones and took them to the police, saying they believed the bones were human. Here's where things get strange. After forensics and all available testing methods were used, including testing the meat Ben had put in his freezer, the results showed, but it was a 100% beef. There was absolutely nothing related to human flesh. However, because of the immense public pressure, the police still went to the PHA shop to test the broth and equipment. It all came back as 100% beef broth and meat. Ben and the neighbors remained convinced that the owner had killed the woman but had managed to dispose of or conceal the evidence flawlessly. Yet, the investigation yielded zero evidence of a death at the house. Neighbors confirmed that Alex and his family had been acting completely normally, cooking pho, laughing, and showing no signs of unusual behavior or fights. If the story ended here, it wouldn't be truly terrifying. But the truly horrifying part happened later, after a long time had passed and everyone had started to forget the incident. Of course, Ben never dared to take bones from Alex again. He was scared by the whole affair, fearing the meat truly was human. That deep fear is what led Ben to see the ghost again. Once again, she appeared as only half a woman, but this time she was standing by the wooden door of Ben's house. She was crying, saying she was cold and that no one had buried her. Ben, terrified again, told her he didn't know anything. He promised to make offerings the next day if she wanted, but demanded she stop disturbing him, or he would call a sorcerer. Ben also told her he had searched everywhere for the po shop where the other half of her body might be, but he couldn't find it. The woman then told him that she had died in that house a long time ago, not recently. She didn't know where her lower half was, but confirmed she died in the house. The next morning, Ben told his story to the small community. An elderly resident suddenly remembered something. About 10 or 12 years earlier, the shop had hired a Cambodian girl to wash dishes and clean. One night, that girl suddenly vanished. Alex and his wife started washing dishes themselves. When customers asked, the Alex couple claimed the girl had stolen things, and they had sent her back to Cambodia. No one paid much attention, and the event was forgotten for years. After that, the Alex couple only hired male employees. People didn't question this much, assuming they hired men because they were stronger and could do more work than women. There were many rumors from the slum, but still no 100% confirmation that the couple had committed murder. About a week later, after everything quieted down, one neighbor decided to go back and eat pho. He believed the Alex couple were innocent because if they were guilty, the forensics investigation would have revealed it. He figured Ben's family must have just gone somewhere spooky, like a cemetery or a morgue, and gotten haunted, or maybe they just made the whole story up. But when the neighbor got to the Picho shop, he was surprised to find that Alex's family had stopped selling. The shop was permanently closed. Neighbors said the Alex couple had moved away immediately after the police came to take the broth and equipment for examination. Exactly 1 week after the investigation, Alex and his wife decided to settle in the Netherlands, where they had relatives. The story stops abruptly there, without any answers. Did Alex and his wife really kill someone and cook her bones? If they were innocent, why did they flee so hastily? Do you believe the couple committed murder? And do you believe the woman was split into 2 bags of bones, one given to Ben's family, and the other going into unknown hands? The whole thing remains an unclear but truly horrifying story that haunts me. If it truly was human flesh, how could someone be so ruthless back then? If the story is real, it's just as disturbing as the Hong Kong human meat bun tale. But if it isn't real, it's still incredibly bizarre. Who ever heard of a ghost appearing right after receiving a bag of bones and asking for its meat back? Why did it happen with that specific bag of bones and not the others Ben had received? What do you think about this story?